Hey there, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Ranking the Albums. This is the show we do each and every Sunday morning here in the U.S. anyway, maybe afternoon or evening when you watch this. But thanks for joining and thanks for spending some time with us today. We're going to take a look at the short catalog of a very cool band from Richmond, Virginia, here in the States. They have been around, about a dozen years or so. Actually, not a dozen, about just over, well, they probably formed, they've been around for a dozen years, but they actually didn't start releasing albums till 2012. The band is called Windhand. They are a very cool doom band with stoner and psychedelic influences in their music. 4 studio albums, 4 full lengths, all 4 really, really strong. So this is a band that I have always heard of. I only just started getting into them not that long ago. But man, they're pretty damn terrific. So the band are comprised of their lineup today. Lead vocals, Dorothea Cottrell. Okay, she's a founding member of the band. We've got Garrett Morris on guitars, another founding member. You got Ryan Wolf on drums, who's been in the band since 2010. And Parker Chandler on bass, who's been in the band since 2013. We got former members, original bass player Nathan Hilbish, original drummer Jeff Laux, and original second guitar player, Aseshia Bogdan. I'm not quite sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but now they are down to just a 4-piece, just a 1-guitar band, whereas on the first three albums, 2 guitar players, the most recent album, just 1 guitar player. So I'm going to somehow rank these in the order that I like them. I will say all of these albums are terrific, and I could probably change this ranking at any given time. And if someone said to me that my number 4 is their number 1, I wouldn't argue that at all, because there's really not much separating these at all. Okay, but you gotta rank them somehow, right? So let's get started. So I'm gonna go with my number 4 is their most recent album from 2018. It's called Eternal Return. Look at that glorious artwork. I mean, if that totally screams doom to me. It you could say that looks like a prog album too, but to me that looks like a doom album. I mean, just check that out. How cool is that? You got the lady by the lake, mysterious lady by the lake. You got what looks to be, it's not ice, right? But it looks like it's like a green vegetation covered water, right? With this kind of something fell through, right? There's like an outline there. Very, very mysterious looking, right? This all about this band is very mysterious. But anyway, it's the 4th and most recent album, so they're on Relapse Records. They've been on Relapse Records for a couple of albums now, their last 3 actually. This album is 62 minutes long. So it's about 10 minutes shorter than the album that came before it, which we'll talk about in just a minute. That was Grief's Eternal Flower. Like I mentioned, this is the first album without guitarist Bogdan. All right, so they've gone from a 2-guitar band to a 1-guitar band. Garrett Morris doing all the guitar work on this album, all the solos, all the riffs, everything. You don't really miss anything. I mean, I hate to say that because the riffs and the guitar playing on the first 3 albums are so massive, but you almost don't even notice here. Everything still sounds exactly the same. Love the cover artwork. Jack Andino, again, produces this album. He produced the previous album. He's a well-known producer. He's worked with a lot of the Seattle bands, a lot of the 90s bands, Soundgarden and whatnot. So he's got a certain style. It's a really good sounding album. To my ears, there's a little bit less of the pulverizing, plotting, apocalyptic, monolithic doom on this album compared to the prior 3. There's still that here, but there's this music to my ears now kind of dips into a little bit of psych. There's a little bit of 90s grunge a little bit, which you can really hear on the song The Grey Garden. I think Dorothea sounds really confident on the vocals on this album. And I think because this album is less out and out crushing doom on every single track, I think to me, it sounds like she's having a little less to compete with to get her vocals over, and I think she sounds strongest on this album than she does on all the albums. Really good vocals on here. It's not this album is not this never ending assault of just fucking huge riffs, right? It's just there's a lot of nuances in this particular album, which for some is going to be really cool because I think there's a little more variety on this album. You got Pilgrim's Rest, more of a haunting kind of folky track. There is a little bit of folk on this album. You get a little bit on all the albums, right? But a little more on this album. Both First to Die and Halcyon are more your typical fuzz-laden stoner pieces. Awesome riffs, just totally love it. I think Dorothea's vocals on those are also really emotional. She, like I said, she's really come to her own in this band on this album. Light into Dark, a wild guitar kind of freak out instrumental for all the heavy psych lovers out there. I absolutely love that. Would love to hear more of that type of thing from them. You get Red Cloud, stomps, lots of heft, lots of groove. Another great track. You got I Shine. This band loves long songs, so I Shine is one of the big lengthy ones on here. It slows things down to like a zombie death march crawl. It's just awesome if you love slow, heavy, doomy music. I mean, it's just like intense. And the riffs are just absolutely pulverizing the song. The vocals are eerie. The guitar solos are screaming, dripping with wah-wah. I mean, you love wah-wah guitar solos too. You've come to the right place with this band. Really intense song. I love that one quite a bit. You got Feather is the other long track on the album. It's nearly 14 minutes. That one's kind of bluesy. You got acoustic guitar tones, light kind of like tribal drumming, chanting vocals, and then all of a sudden the massive fuzz riffs kick in about like 5 minutes into the song, and the wah-wah solo takes the listener off into the stratosphere. Very, very cool stuff. Really good album. I think maybe a couple of tracks aren't quite up to their usual standards, but I think it's good to hear the band branching out a little bit from their tried and true formula. And like I said, I think this has some of her best vocal performances on any of the albums. You really hear her a little bit more here. But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if anybody has this number 1 or 2. It's fantastic. Really good. And I love the album artwork. I mean, I just love it. It is so cool. So that is my number 4. Coming in at number 3, this was tough. The top 3 were really tough. I'm going to go with 2015's Grief's Eternal Flower. So again, this is their 3rd album, also on Relapse Records, like I mentioned. Again, really cool, kind of creepy artwork. Let me just pop this out so you can kind of get a look at the entire piece together, right? So there you have it. So, I mean, I just love when bands do that. Just screams doom, right? Totally. When you get the inside, that's very psychedelic looking, right? So this is a long album. It's over 70 minutes long, 9 tracks, a lot of lengthy tracks. But it follows the usual kind of Windhand pattern of you got Dorothea's kind of wispy, haunting vocals floating over this massive wave of guitar and bass riffs and kind of pounding drums and wah-wah guitar solos. That's their style, right? Long songs, right? Here you got 2 Urns, kicks things off, totally crushes. Forest Clouds, Headbanger's Delight. The riffs are so good, and they're just loaded with fuzz. If you love fuzz, man, this band, it doesn't get any better than this band. The vocals are kind of insistent, though, keep stabbing into the mix. The drums are kind of bashing. Really good song. You got Sparrow, which is kind of a bluesy folk tune, which kind of breaks up the kind of the doomy bombast that you get throughout the rest of this album. 10 Grisnir, or however the hell they say that, slightly faster paced song. It's got a haunting chorus. I like when they kind of change up the tempos a little bit, because sometimes they kind of stick in a certain gear, and that's what they do, but that's what they do well. Hyperion hits you like a wrecking ball, man. The riffs are so heavy, and then you get the 2 14-minute long tracks coming after that. You got Hesperus and Kingfisher. I mean, holy moly. So heavy, so kind of freaky, and Dorothea's vocals are lovely, yet so dripping like with this menace and evilness, right? Evilness, is that even a word? I don't know. And plenty of like wah-wah guitar solos. Plenty of them, which is always very, very cool. Overall, I think this is a really, really strong album. Perhaps it's a tad too long, though. It's one of the things, that's the reason why I mentioned on Eternal Return, it's about 10 minutes shorter than this album. I think 70 minutes long of music this type is pushing it just a little bit. I love it, don't get me wrong. but your attention span can drift a little bit, right? I think for albums this heavy, slow, and ponderous and crushing and serious, I think that like 50 to 60 minutes tops is just perfect. But there's, like I said, this could have used 10 or 15 minutes of trimming, but the production by Jack Endino is so good. And like I said, there's some amazing songs on here, fantastic songs on here. So, this one could have ranked higher too. But again, I'm going to knock it back just a little bit because I just think it's too damn long. But what's great on there is amazing. All right, the top two. I mean, this is tough. I'm going to go with... and I know Gary Joyce is probably watching and he's probably thinking, Pete, how did you get all those cracks on your CD case? Well, Gary, it kind of came that way and I just haven't replaced it. I'm going to do it right after I get done talking to you guys about it. This is Windhand. This is their 2012 debut album. From the album cover, and again, this is a later reissue, so the album cover is different. I actually kind of like the original album cover more, because it reminds me so much of the first Black Sabbath album. It is just so DIY and like underground screaming. This is a little bit more kind of professional looking. This is definitely still cool too, but the original album cover is just so creepy looking. This album is kind of like, think of a modern day version of Black Sabbath's first album meets Electric Wizard. I don't know. And modern day, this is a decade ago already, so it's not really modern anymore. But if a more modern band, decided to take the kind of the framework of the first Sabbath album and some of the, latter period works of Electric Wizard, boom, there you have it. You got Dorothea Cottrell's haunting, eerie vocals, kind of floating like an evil witch on a broom over the slow, crushing riffs Black Candles starts it off. Oh, so heavy. Got these scorching wah-wah guitar solos, just crushing. And again, it's just hauntingly heavy between the vocals and the fact the riffs are so fuzz-laden and so heavy and slow. It's just weird, creepy-ass music. I just love it. Libusen, I think that's how you say Libusen. Ponderously monolithic. The swirling psychedelic guitar solos are all over the place. Her chilling vocals. I mean, the riffs are so heavy you actually feel the weight of them on your shoulders. You're just like, it just beats you down. Just, so good. Heap Wolves, to me, sounds like St. Vitus. Just wonderful stuff. The riffs absolutely kill. Some in the Moon is nearly 11 minutes, and the fuzz is outstanding. The guitar solos just shoot through the moon. And then you got Winter Sun closes off the album, nearly 11 minutes. More outstanding fuzz. Just the band's dialing up the funeral dirge riffing over and over and over again. And Dorothea is wailing to the heavens on this particular one. Or maybe she's wailing to hell. I don't know. One of the two. Either way. This is a truly heavy, creepy album. A just apocalyptic ending to the album with that song. And I think it's a tremendous debut. It's very raw sounding, but it's just got this nice occult and psychedelic vibe and creepy vibe that kind of underpins all the heaviness. Really, really cool. So, and if you get the reissue, the Relapse reissue, because this originally was like privately released, Relapse reissued this, and you got like kind of like demo versions of all the tracks on here, including a song called Amaranth, which is pretty cool. So, that's my number two. It's great stuff. Again, not as polished, but still there's a charm to it that I just can't get past. And my number one is an album that I've talked to many people who have regarded this as their best. The second album from 2013, Soma. All right, Relapse Records. This is their Relapse debut. Music on this album, to me, has a little more of a stoner vibe, I think. But it's no less heavy. In fact, arguably, it's even heavier than some of the other stuff. You got Orchard, kicks off the album. Again, the fuzz is incredible. Dorothea's wailing vocals are as haunting as ever. You got Woodbine, which totally crushes, but has more of kind of like a bluesy psych feel, I think. Her vocals are excellent on that one as well. Feral Bones has some of the heaviest riffing I've heard on any doom stoner album. And that says a lot, because there's a lot of really heavy doom stoner riffs on a lot of stuff that I've talked about, a lot of stuff that I've listened to. If you like some of the heaviest stuff of Electric Wizard, man, with some of that stuff is just like concrete heavy. The Feral Bones rivals that for sure. I mean, holy hell. I mean, and then with her high pitched kind of vocal wails kind of stabbing over the top of all this stuff, like as it's like a witch flying overhead of things, right? Mind blowing stuff. And the guitar solo on that song is way cool too. You got kind of more folky tones on Evergreen, kind of acoustic guitars and ethereal vocals. It's very creepy and doomy sounding, but it's not heavy like all the other stuff. Very cool. And you got Cassock, which is 14 minutes of her chanting vocals over crushing fuzz-soaked riffs. Monstrous. And then, of course, you got Boleskine, which is a 30-minute descent into psychedelic doomy hell. I mean, huge riffs all over the place, screaming wah-wah guitar solos everywhere. I mean, this is a monstrous album. One of the heaviest doom albums I've ever heard, but creepy and psychedelic and kind of folky in spots. And you look at the cover, reminds me of kind of like The Witch, right? Anybody see the film The Witch that came out a bunch of years ago? Very cool, kind of pagan folk horror film. This just reminds me of that. It's like you're in this little house out in the middle of nowhere, gray and woods everywhere, and it's just that's what you get when you listen to this record. It's just crazy. Let me get you the whole picture here. I always like to show these album covers because they're usually wraparounds, right? So there you go. I mean, how creepy is that? And then, of course, you look at that. It's like, oh, yeah. So, yeah, that is my favorite. So that's the order I'm going to go. I'm going to go with Soma first. I'm going to go with self-titled Windhand, number 2. Number 3, I'm going to go with Grief's Eternal Flower. And number 4, I'm going to go with Eternal Return. But this ranking could change daily. These are all really great doom albums. If you haven't heard this band, you are really missing out. Epic doom, psychedelic doom, occult doom, folk doom. It's all of those things wrapped up into one. Some of the heaviest albums you'll ever hear with some of the coolest female vocals you'll ever hear too. Very unique stuff. Some might say, well, they don't really change up their style all that much from album to album to album. What they do real well. I like the fact they throw in little kind of folky bits here and there, a little bluesy, trippy, psych stuff here and there, just enough to kind of keep these albums all sounding fresh. They have a formula. Yes, they do it well. But, man, if you love big, huge, tremendous, fuzz-laden doom riffs, you have come to the right place. So check them out. Windhand from Virginia here in the States. Very cool band. These are easy to get. Like I said, they all either came out on Relapse or were reissued on Relapse like this one. But you might be able to still find copies of the original album. But why not get the re-release, because it's got the extra bonus demo stuff on there, which is really cool too. So there you have it, everybody. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. All together, all the damn time. Please rank them as you like them down in the comments below, and subscribe. If you haven't already, click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts, and please do hit the like button before you leave. Also down below, we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations as well as our merch page, so thank you in advance for all your help and support there. It's greatly appreciated, and we'll see you real soon here with more stuff. Ranking the Albums will be back, of course, next Sunday. I believe, he doesn't quite know it yet, but I believe next Sunday will be the Winery Dogs. Rick Labonte and myself will be reviewing that short catalog. I think that's what's coming next. Otherwise, we got a bunch of them that are in the works. Stephen Reeder and I are going to be doing... no, it will not be the Winery Dogs yet. It'll be Jamie Laszlo and myself will be doing Blood Ceremony. That's coming up next week. I think we'll probably do Winery Dogs after that. Stephen Reed and myself are going to be doing Pendragon. Jamie Laszlo is coming back again, and we're going to do Monster Magnet together. I've got also Sly and the Family Stone, and... a whole bunch of other things. The list is long and wide, so we're going to get to everything as we get to it. But, till then, I am Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.